All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to a presentation on ChatGPT and its implications for the legal profession. For those of you who may not be familiar with ChatGPT, it's a cutting-edge natural language processing technology developed by a company called OpenAI, and it allows computers to generate human-like text in real time. The technology has the potential to revolutionize the way we interact with computers and has a wide range of applications across a lot of industries, including the legal profession. One potential use case that we're going to explore today is the legal process in the area of legal research, as well as how lawyers can quickly and easily access information from a variety of legal sources, saving time and increasing efficiency. And we're also going to go through a couple of other use cases. And as you can tell, actually, this was written by OpenAI. And so if you're not familiar with OpenAI, this is going to be your opportunity to see it, take a look at how it works, and we're going to explore some of the use cases that I've been doing, and I'll also show you kind of how to get in. So the first thing is to know is that this is free to explore. There are some paid uses that we're going to take a look at later, including image generation as well as integrating it into software that you might have. But what I thought would be fun is we're going to spend maybe 30 minutes to an hour just literally just playing with this and showing you kind of some of the stuff that I've been playing with. I've been blown away by it, and I think that I'm going to be able to show you some interesting use cases that maybe that I think everyone that sees this at some point has a moment where you're just like, my God, this is incredible. And so hopefully you'll have one of those experiences while we're going through this. So the first thing to know here is that this is a product that will create text that is not just like gleaning things from Wikipedia or from Google. It's creating unique, non-plagiarized material from kind of basically a training model of data. That training model is in fact based on Google and Wikipedia and some other sources, but it's essentially predicting and using this data to go to a different direction. So, for example, you can ask it to create an outline for attorneys on ChatGPT for an outline for a presentation. ChatGPT, and I can then, the more specific you are, the better. So I'm going to say include specific examples, novel use cases, and unique prompts to show your full. So what's going to do is then it's going to put you back here and it's going to give you an outline to work from. So a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily going to be great, but it is going to be something that you can jump off of. And in fact, this is what I used earlier today to put together my outline for doing this. This is a little bit different than what I saw earlier today. But yeah, this is pretty on point. So what I'm going to do from my outline, though, is I'm going to start by showing you how you can feed it information and get back meaningful stuff back. So like, let's come and I'm going to take a look at protective orders. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set the criteria for my interaction with ChatGPT. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set forth and tell it that it's going to play the role of a personal injury lawyer. And we're going to make this a crotchety old lawyer who wants to be careful and wants everything grounded in case law, statutes, and procedures. And I'm also going to give it the specificity to say that we're in Fulton County, Georgia. And I'm going to make it play the role of that crotchety attorney. And it's going to come back and it's going to try and have a conversation for me. And I'm going to try and stop that. So what I'll do next is I'll just tell it, I'm going to feed it my data. So there's a couple of ways you can play with this. So number one is that you could create your own ChatGPT and train it on your data, which is something that we've done. But for this presentation, I'm going to only use the normal ChatGPT that you may have seen. And I'm going to feed it the information piece by piece. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to tell it I'm going to tell ChatGPT like my perspective and where I'm coming from on protective orders. And so we're going to explore here protective orders. I'm going to ask it to review draft proposed protective orders and come back in and give me some feedback on it. So I'm going to tell it, hey, this is your data, and I'm going to feed it a internal memorandum that we have on protective orders. So I'm telling it, just tell me you understand it, you're committing it to memory, and don't give me a long response summarizing it. So I'm going to give it the next section. I'll keep going through. There's a text limitation on how much you can feed it at one time, which is the reason why I'm doing it this way instead of just dropping it all in. Earlier this week, you were able to do that, to just dump the whole thing, but it appears that they're cracking down on that, or at least limiting it, because as this grows in popularity, the computing resources are also going to. Commit to memory, give it the next section here. And so that you know what I'm feeding it, so I'm explaining to it that we believe that the defendant has the burden of proving, their claim to trade secrets and to get a protective order in the first place. This is for a personal injury firm. I'm going to then, going through here, explaining how the challenge process should work. I'm going to tell it, commit this to memory, don't summarize it, don't do anything, just take it. This is just setting the groundwork for you to be able to work with this on your particular issue. I'm just feeding it different sections. This is the section on sharing provisions. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an actual protective order that I received in my email pretty recently, and I'm just giving it the full protective order. So I'm copying it in, and I'm telling it, hey, I'm done giving you our policy, and I want you to evaluate a protective order. So this is one that we received in our products liability case, and I just literally just took the protective order in the Word format that they gave me, and I'm just dropping it in and saying, hey, take a look at it. And I'm also asking it here, part of my prompt, I want you to evaluate the proposed protective order in the context of our policy, identify potential areas of concern. So what I'm wanting to see is I'm wanting to see it identify who has the burden of proof for claiming confidentiality. I'm wanting to see it identify challenge provisions. I'm wanting to see it identify sharing provisions. Clawback is another thing that I want it to identify. So let's see what it's got. So this is correct. So this is absolutely correct. Then the list of qualified persons is overly restrictive and does not include any representatives from media organizations or nonprofit advocacy groups, which could limit the. It's a fantastic criticism. I don't think it's going to actually do anything, but like that is spot on from a public policy perspective. And then the provision allowing for the sharing protective attorneys with attorneys is overly narrow. I agree with that as well. And then the provision requiring that the receiving party destroy all copies is overly burdensome and could potentially restrict use of important information in future. These are all spot on. Like if I were handing this to a younger associate and they came back with this, I would be very happy. But you can go and you can take this another step forward, and you can then say, draft a proposed provision that incorporates our firm policy on the issues you identified. And so it's going to should give me back a version of the order that I can then plug in as a potential red line in a Word document. let's see. So we're going to compare it to, this is good language. This is excellent, actually. So compare the paragraph 1 that they wrote out. Let's see if I can do a easy way. Let's compare theirs. So I'm going to share this tab here. So this is the language that ChatGTP proposed, and this is the language that the defendant proposed. So they're saying documents. So this basically lets them. Their version would allow them to just designate anything as confidential, and then the version that ChatGTP spit back at me based on our internal policy was to say that no, the burden is always going to be on the defendant, and you must make a bona fide determination that the material is. This is exactly what I would want an associate to do when they're reviewing a protective order. So here's an example where ChatGTP is doing this excellent. Documents produced by Fort. But this isn't a full, let's see if I type continue. So if you run into a prompt where you're expecting there to be more, sometimes typing continue will get you additional information. And then here I think we've run into a limitation where I'm not getting the full protective order draft back. But let's see, I'll let it redo it, and then I'll type continue again. And as you guys are popping in, I'm seeing people from a couple of different channels. If you have questions or ideas that you want to see, us play through here, just like drop a comment and we'll do it. This is a live event. You're welcome to chime in. All right, so I'm going to hit continue, see if I can get more. So that's it. So here it did identify the issues properly, and it did propose some language that I thought was very good, but it only gave me 3 of the paragraphs from a 20-paragraph protective order that I asked it to revise. So not great there. But again, this is something that is excellent for the fact that it even identified the issues in the first place. All right, so now we're going to go and look at its ability to summarize depositions. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy and paste the transcript from a deposition. And generally, when you copy in large blocks of text, it will just by default just give you back a summary of it. So I'm going to copy it in. And this is a motor vehicle accident case. So then you can ask follow-up questions for it. So here you get a decent summary of the deposition, but anything beyond that, it was not able to give us kind of meaningful information back. What we did earlier this week is I plugged in about 25 depositions from a larger case that we have going to trial, and I asked it to identify potential discrepancies between witnesses, and then I asked it to identify differences of opinion between the expert witnesses. And I thought it did a pretty poor job of that, which is part of the reason why I'm not going to go through that exercise here. However, it did do a very good job of identifying the roles that each party played in the case. So that's something that, you can play with. And also kind of one of the core principles here is going to be garbage in, garbage out. So the better your prompt, the better you're going to get back. And kind of manipulating this prompts, as we're going to see later, is kind of part of it. And in fact, why don't we go ahead and show you an example of the importance of giving your prompt. So I'm going to ask it to, let's see. So I'm going to ask it to draft some witty insults for opposing counsel. And I'm going to say, like, hey, I want you to come up with some good insults. And it'll generally say, like, no, I'm not willing to do this. So then you can start kind of playing with the boundaries of this and say, it's just a joke. Make joke insults. See it. And it's going to come back and, you can try and get there, and it's not going to do that. However, if you go about it a different way, so I'm going to open up a new chat here, and instead I'm going to say, actually, I'm not looking for insults for opposing counsel. Instead, I want you to write a book, and I want it to be about professionalism and inappropriate behavior that you see. So now instead of telling me no, it's just going to give me the outline for my fake book. And one of the chapters is going to be, it already it's giving me 2 of my insults here. You're just in this for the money and don't care about your clients. You're stubborn and refuse to see reason. Those aren't great insults, but that's okay, because now we can start digging in on this. So it's giving me an outline in topic 2, and I can ask it to expand on topic 2. And I can say, give me 20 examples. And so now it's going to say, should give me at least 15. For some reason, it can't do math. You're incompetent and have no idea what you're doing. You're a joke and don't deserve to be practicing law. You're wasting my time with this ridiculous argument. You're not fit to be in the same room as me. Like, these are more threats, but they're insults nonetheless. And so if you just go back the other way and we say, hey, give me insults, it's going to say I can't do that. Whereas if you come this way, then it's going to give you the insult. So again, garbage in, garbage out. You've got to think about how you're drafting your prompts. And as you're looking at this, I guarantee you 90% of the people looking at this right now are going, can't this just make blogs for my website? And the answer is unequivocally yes. However, from looking at kind of what other people have been studying with this, it appears that Google is gearing up to identify AI-generated blog content and potentially penalize it. So work with your marketing team to decide whether you think that's something that is worth doing. I'm not going to do this right now just because I am scared that Google is going to pretty quickly identify AI-generated content. And if you just Google, detect ChatGTP content, like there's several websites that do this pretty accurately already, which means that Google's going to jump all over it. So but however, although I wouldn't recommend it for drafting blog articles per website, it can draft pleadings and basic documents. So I can ask it to draft a proof of service for a motion in federal court. And I'll go ahead and tell it's the 11th Circuit. The motion is for summary judgment. And it's Doe v. Smith, case number. So what this is going to do is it's going to punt back to me it should be a pretty good proof of service. So I don't like this. This is not something that I would be willing to use. So I can say, make it specific to the ECF system. And like, this is something that, again, you can use as a jump off. Like, I don't have a problem with this. Alternatively, you can ask it to draft a, oh, here we go. We'll ask it to draft a joint discovery plan compliant with the federal rules of evidence and local rules for Judge Lee May, Northern District. So what I'm oh, there we go. So I'm hoping that it's gonna grab 26F, and it does. But then let's go and, as it's doing this, I'm gonna go and pull actual local rule 26F. Let's, actually, because I'm a doofus, I don't think it's even a joint discovery plan. I actually think it is, actually. Let's pull a recent real one we've done. Let's see if I can. Yeah, so I'm gonna make it this way. So I'm gonna give it a different prompt. I'm gonna say, it's going to give me back here a different version. And so I'm going to compare that to ours. So from the Business of Law group, someone saying you can use it to act in the style or act as. Yeah, and I'll show you some of that. But this is okay. I don't think this is great though. So like when I compare it to a real one, let's see if I can get you to a different screen here. Yeah, there we go. So when I compare it to like a real 26F, like I've got a description of the case, I've got a summary of the facts, legal issues to be tried, and none of that is present in the ChatGTP version. So I don't like that. But you can play with this and see what its capabilities are and kind of what it can be used for drafting routine documents. And the important thing to know here, though, is that if I were to feed it, let's see if this is too big. This might be too big. So I'm going to give it a model 26F. All right, so I fed it a model, and then so now what it's going to do is it's going to come back and hopefully be better. This is a good one. So we'll do that. We're gonna have some fun. But so joint discovery plan, I don't love this. I think if I were to feed it 3 or 4 more examples, I think that it would be able to get it. But out the box, like this isn't terrible. All right, but yes, you can do it for some other fun stuff. All right, so I can ask it to draft, 25 motivational quotes on obtaining, and we'll call it 40-figure verdict, 40-figure. How is it called? 40-digit income for your law firm. In the style. of local hero Seth Bader. All right, we can do that. I mean, it's not wrong. The greatest reward for a lawyer is the knowledge that you've made a difference in someone's life. A 40-digit income for your firm is just the icing on the cake. Like, I mean, this is pretty on point. But you can do it for stuff like that. So if you're wanting to generate like generic social media content, you can absolutely do that. You can also then turn it around and say like, hey, rewrite this, in the style of, I don't know, make somebody Winnie the Pooh about getting your mail right after the mailman shows up. And I can say include references to Atlanta food. So then you can ask it to rewrite it. And ask it for a couple more. You can also ask it to, you can also ask some basic questions like, where can I get wet hot wings? There we go. So we got JR Crickets. The question is going to be whether it gets everyone's favorite club. See if it'll go there. So no, it doesn't. But that's okay. So now let's take a look at its ability to play roles. So like making motivational speeches and stuff like that. That's funny. But you can also use it to actually get practical stuff. So you can ask it to play a role. We'll change this to one. So you can say like, I want you to act as an advertiser consultant. And your job is going to be to create a campaign to promote a product or service of your choice. So we'll clean this up. Would be to create a campaign promote a personal injury law firm. I want a 40x return on I want to increase my revenue 40x. There you go. So from there, you can plug this information in, and it'll start to give you back feedback that some of it may be actionable, some of it may not be. Like, this isn't necessarily bad advice, but it is extremely generic. So what you can ask it to do is you can start to nail it down. All right, so question here. So the answer is yes, and you can absolutely do that. That's extremely easy. So none of the content that it's going to generate is going to be duplicative. It'll reuse phrases pretty consistently, but those are just, let me phrase that, not even phrases. It's going to reuse clauses, but it's not going to reuse content. The bigger problem that you have, though, is that it's objectively obvious that it's AI written content, it can be detected. So let's say that I wanted to write a blog article, create a 500 word blog article specific to, because one of the things they keep telling us to do is that we want to go in and like niche down into specific areas. So I'm going to use specific to, I live in Piedmont Park in Atlanta, Piedmont Park in Atlanta, on the topic of car accidents and compensation is available. And I can tell it to don't write generically. So it's going to give me back an article here. And this is the kind of generic crap that you're going to see on lots of people's websites. I mean, I guarantee you that if I go to some of the bigger firms, like, you're going to see this content is pretty similar to what they're putting out there. The problem that you're going to run into, though, and here once this is done, but this is fine. Like, this is what you would expect to see on a generic blog article about car accidents near Piedmont Park. But the issue is, so let's get this thing finished. It's actually a pretty good article. Like, I would put this on my website if it weren't for the fact that, for what I'm about to show you. This is actually fantastic. This is better than what some of the people we've hired to write content have done for us. This is great. But if I were to take this content and then plug it in here, I'm taking this, I'm going to analyze it. It's telling me I got too many words here, so that's better. Yeah, there we go. Well, this one didn't catch it. This one says 98% human generated. Let's see if we can try another one. This is ChatGTP 2. We want GTP 3. This is the same page. All right, well, it didn't catch it on this one, so that's great. So you'll see this article coming to a web page near you. I promise you that much. But you can do this for creating the blog articles, but Google has already come out and said that they're going to start flagging AI-generated content. So what you're going to want to do, if you are planning to use it to generate blog articles, which I think is a bad idea, is you're going to want to run it through a service like Blender. And what Blender will do is it will let you plug in text. Let's see. Anyway, there are websites that you can use to take this text and then rewrite it, so that maybe it gets past the AI test. But I think your better bet here, though, is instead of asking it to write this article, to come in and say, create an outline. Use engaging topics and trend towards topics. So instead of doing the actual article, go through and use this as a outline generating tool and either hand that off to your marketing team or whoever's writing your articles, or if you're writing them yourself, use this as kind of your baseline, because this is going to give you the right things to write about, and then you're also not going to run into the problem with Google flagging your content as non-organic or non-human, which I'm telling you is going to be a big deal in the very near future. However, you can use this to write your call to action, or your what do they call it, your unique lead generator, to write your book that you want to hand out to clients that are injured. So let's say that I wanted to use this, and we'll do it real quick. We got another 20 or so minutes here, so let's just right this second we're going to write a book, and I'm going to show you how to do it that you can then give away for free. And I'm just going to Google free book personal injury law firm. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Jerome Goutreau, fantastic lawyer down in Macon. And I'm going to get his book. We're going to look at it. He's going to make me email for it. Jerome, send me your book. Maybe he's going to think I'm spying on him. There we go. All right, so we're going to go and look through the book real quick. We're also going to start talking about these graphics as well. So what we've got here is, this is a book that he or someone has written to help people who've been involved for centuries. So what do the marketing people say? The marketing people say, give people a free book, use that to become a leader. And so you've got, this looks like a 56-page book. How many characters per? We can get a gauge on this. All right, so it's about 220 words on 56. All right, so it's about 12,000 word article. So this is really about 15 pages or so in Word. So things to do before you or a loved one are injured. Overview of liability and insurance. The insurance claims process. I mean, this is all good content. There's nothing wrong with any of it. So we're going to recreate this from scratch using ChatGTP for something. And that's something that you can immediately then put into use. So I'm going to have it draft an outline for a book for injured persons in Georgia, answering frequently asked questions and encouraging them to hire our law firm. Emphasis on sympathy, and showing leadership as a lawyer. And just because we're having fun, also include a section on best hot dogs in Atlanta and why an injured person might like to visit each location. Okay. So now I'm going to get my outline. Like this is on point. But what I'm really interested in is Atlanta's thriving hot dog scene. I had no idea that Atlanta had a thriving hot dog scene. All right, so now I've got an outline for a book. So in these topics, information gathering, medical treatment, negotiating. All right, so this is the claims process. Let's see what his next chapter is. Finding a lawyer to handle your injury case. Okay, so how do I know if I have an injury claim? How do I choose the right lawyer? How long will it take? Our commitment to personalized attention. Like these are all good. So then how do you actually turn this into a book now? So you'll just go through each of these topics and you say expand, actually just draft the chapter. And here, I'm gonna give it my bio. I don't want that. I just want this. There we go. All right, so I've given it my bio, I've given it the topic, and so now it's going to draft a chapter. This is perfect. Like I'm not going to change a word of this if I were to actually put it into a book. Actually, I may ask it to expand the chapter and explain what the book is about and why I wrote it, because I'm a very passionate person here. And so I'm going to get back a chapter here that explains, whatever this topic is, and let's compare it to, again, Jerome's excellent book. I'm not trying to single him out. He's just the first person that popped up on Google, which also shows that he's doing a great job. Oh, it includes a story about an actual client. I like that. The deck is stacked against you. All right. So compare that to this. Nothing wrong with it. Also, we're sticking with our love of Atlanta hot dogs. Like, nothing wrong with this. So then you just keep going down. And now I'm going to write the chapter number 2. So this is something that you can use immediately to then turn it into a lead generator for your website. Like, you keep getting told by these marketing people to like create a book. Well, here's your book. And you can do this in about 45 minutes because you would just keep going through each of these chapters. And then at the end of the day, you're going to end up with probably more content. I mean, we'll do chapter 3. I don't wonder what happens if I just write chapter 3. Yeah, we got it. Like, we're rocking and rolling now. It knows what I'm doing. It knows what I want. And we'll just go to chapter 5, and I'm just going to do a character count at that point. And as you're looking through this content, like, this is excellent. There's nothing particularly terrible about any of it. It's kind of generic, but if you're talking about like a lead generating book kind of situation, like, this is fine. And these are the common questions that they have. And you're getting content that is original, like not plagiarized. So like, we'll also take this. I'm going to copy it, and once it's finished, we'll plug it into Google, and I'll show you that it doesn't come up as plagiarized. So the closest we're getting here is this is kind of pretty far off. I'll put it in parentheses just to take this. Nothing. So this is original, unique content, and then we'll now do a character count here. And I'm only in chapter 4 of what looks to be a 15-chapter little book it's having me write. Okay, so this is 1,500 words that it's already given me for my book. And compare that to the 2,800 word book that we were able to just find on the internet pretty quickly. And I'm only I'm only about right here. It's like I'm not even halfway through, and it's given me 1,400 words of content that I would have no problem using. Like, this is fine for its purpose. So that's how you can use it to generate your book or your blog articles if you're wanting to be take that risk, which again, I don't recommend you do. The next thing you can do is if you're more technical. So for example, I got an email earlier today. So we use Salesforce and Slack as our backend. And I got a notice that I had an error with one of our flows. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. And let's say I want to diagnose this error. So what I can do is I can copy the text, and then just plug it in. And it's going to diagnose and identify that error for me. And I did already kind of go through this and figure that out. And this is the right answer. Like, there was an element in the flow called place bets that didn't look great. P.S. Since you've been here for 45 minutes, I will show you what that place bets looks like. So what we do in Slack each day is there's a leaderboard, and you get points for doing leads and things like that, or for saving faxes and things like that. And so there's a scoreboard, and each day our staff is able to get money with this little lottery here. So like leaving an emoji is placing your bet. And then if one of the, an hour later, if one of the slot machine style emojis comes in, matches those, everyone gets $50. So it's a fun little thing that we do. But it was able to identify that problem in the flow, and I was able to fix it using this. Also, if you know what a regular expression is, or use that as part of like your editing of Word documents and things like that, you can ask it to write regular expression. So I can ask it to write a regular expression to identify the third number in each sentence, starting with dog. And so it's going to give me that back pretty. No, this is correct. Yeah. Third number. Yeah, this is accurate. And so you're able to get that as well if you're using it. This is all great. So then finally, one of the things I'm going to show you is its ability to then create images. And so you're going to start seeing this on Business of Law. There's another thing called Dolly. And one of the things that I did was I asked it to generate for me potential content prompts for our for the Business of Law. So I'll show you what that looks like too. So I asked it to draft potential talking points for the Business of Law Facebook page. And then I've kind of parsed back through there. And so what I did was I then get it down to, then I asked it to reduce each of these to the most unique words. So it's reduced, so it turned what are your top strategies for building and maintaining strong client relationships into building strong client relationships. And then I asked it to create a list of artists. And then I also asked it to create a list of art. And so then you're able to say, so I can take this phrase, plug it in here and say, I want you to building a strong client relation style of this artist. And it's going to generate an image that I can use. It's kind of weird, but okay. Building a strong client relationships. All right, whatever, sure, like we'll use this. Or I can plug it in the next prompt, which is managing a budget and financial resource and style black fire with a dog. And so it'll generate this image, managing a budget and financial resources. Black fire. Here we go. This is pretty good. I don't like the eyes. So what I could do is I can come in here and I can edit it and say, like, I don't like the creepy dog, but like the rest of this is cute. I can say cute dog. And what it should do is spit back out a nicer looking dog. Yeah, there we go. Like, that's fine. That's terrifying. Also terrifying. Also terrifying. This one's fine. I don't know what's going on with its ear, but like it's fine. But where this really starts to shine is you can then use it to like play with website photos on your website. Like I'll give you an example that I did recently. Pull it here. And I asked it to, let's get in here. There we go. It's gonna work for me. Let's try it again. Let's see if that'll work. Boop, boop, boop. I like that. Here we go. All right. So got a photo of my nephew who got into the cockpit of a plane. And I thought it would be fun to just edit out the windows here. And I typed exciting space scene. Realistic photo. And then what it'll do is it'll take whatever I edited out, turn it into an exciting space scene. Sure, this is great. Okay, so then take it a step further and just grabbed his outfit here. And I typed photorealistic spacesuit. And I got one decent one. Let's see. This one's better. And that's pretty good. I mean, this is less than 15 seconds of playing around. We can absolutely do this. Very quickly, I'll show you. And then if you keep playing with, this is the one that I ended up with for myself to send out, and I thought it was fine. All right, so then let's actually take it to the next level here, and we're gonna analyze Alex Northover's marketing. Okay. And what does he use? Facebook or Instagram? Instagram. If you act quick, you can steal my account. My password's I love pizza, just in case you're curious. All right, we got a message here? We do. All right. The style of Sigmund Freud. So there you go. So you can see how it can change the tone. So we can also now, like, just for fun. I don't have any comment on this right here. But you can see that it can do these things. It can do them convincingly. Um, where's the pizza joke? We promised to talk about pizza at least 3 times during the consultation. Like, I'm sold. Like, I think that's fantastic. So there you go. So this is a basic introduction. I also want to show you some resources that you can use as well. Let me pull it up here. Yeah, here we go. So this is a GitHub on ChatGTP prompts. So these are different ideas that might spark some ideas for you. And I'll post a link to this later this week on the Facebook page. You can ask it to do formulas, do math. I don't trust it to do math. You can ask it to access in Excel if you have a problem doing Excel formulas, for example, like it can draft them for you. You can ask to access characters, have it draft stories, tell jokes. And again, the quality of the output is going to be based on the quality of the input that you give it. So for example, I wouldn't ask it to just like provide a marketing plan. I would set the stage and say, like, you are a marketing professional. I want you to pretend that you're an expert in the field and that I too am a high level marketing expert and that we're talking, on each other's levels, so that you don't just get back some derivative. No. Well, here, we can do it. We'll rewrite. I don't think it knows who Ben Sessions is. Let's see. P.S. Whatever Alex Northover did in this case is like obviously a good job. So I hope no one thinks that we're picking on him. It was just a comment that we used. If you get 25 grand on no property damage, then like good for you. 1,500 and yeah, good job, Alex. That's fantastic. All right, so that's what we've got here. If you have any other questions, drop them in the chat. But otherwise, we're going to shut this down in the next 2 or 3 minutes. And to send us off, I'll have it write a nice story. Write a summary of our exciting chats over the last hour. I encourage people to view the video of our session. Include references to my previous prompts. Maximum FOMO. Sad. Just make it up then. I guess everything's got its limits. So I'll have to write that myself. But thanks, guys, everyone, for tuning in. I'll post this in the various groups later tonight so that you can watch it and share and all that kind of stuff. And so thanks for tuning in, and I hope everyone has a great evening.